but I am glad you're here. You know, rain or shine, wherever you are, music's a beautiful thing, right? So maybe you're having a major kind of day today. You're just happy. Maybe it's a little minor. You're a little sad today. Whatever it is, friends, I hope you cheer up during this training. And I'm going to dive into that right now, actually, because it is 3 o'clock. So let's do that together. Let me pull up a couple of slides here, and we'll start this presentation. Now, I do want to mention, if at any point during our conversation today, you start to experience a little technical trouble, maybe some ins and outs with the audio or the video, there's a little reconnect button. It's bright green. Just click that button, and that'll help you get reconnected to the live feed here. So today we are going to be talking about 3 simple and proven strategies to inspire more practice out of our students. But before we do that, just a quick introduction here. My name is Chris Owenby. I've been teaching piano for 15 years. In fact, I've been teaching lots of music classes for about 15 years. You know, in addition to piano lessons, I have taught music theory, composition courses, ear training courses, and worked with some choirs. But at the core of what I do is working with piano students of all ages. Now, I'm also the founder and owner of PracticeHabits.co, which is a piano teacher's resource site. Now, I've put the Facebook Live logo here as well on this slide because I do a lot of Facebook Live broadcasts. It's one of the main touch points that I have with the Practice Habits audience. And that's where I give a lot of value, a lot of free trainings away. So catch me there on the Practice Habits Facebook page from time to time, each Monday, actually, pretty consistent in broadcasting there. And that's where I give a lot of value away to the piano teachers that I work with. Now, as a larger part of what I do with Practice Habits is I run a membership community. The membership community is where I serve piano teachers and their students in an even deeper way. And I'm going to be talking about the membership community a bit later in this presentation, but that is for sure at the core of what I do at Practice Habits, what we want to accomplish, myself and our team of contributors. We've got some contributors to the blog, and we're adding more of those wonderful folks as we continue to do what we do. Now, I've also mentioned this very special practice package that I have for you. And this is a special free gift that I've put together just for you, complete with 5 well-crafted resources. Now, in this practice package, you're going to receive the Emoji Song, which is a newer song, a newer addition to the catalog on PracticeHabits.co. It's, if you can't tell from the little emojis there, you know, a play on pop culture for sure, but it's also a play on major and minor. So incorporating the major 5-finger scale and the minor A minor scale, the 5-finger A minor scale for students. You're also going to get Pedal to the Metal, which is a technical exercise, a scale exercise actually, in all 12 major and all 12 minor keys. You and your students will love that. In addition to that, you're going to get a summer practice plan. Now, this is a little plan that we put together to help you help your student organize a special event this summer. Maybe you, like me, notice that attention spans kind of just fall off as we get into those summer months for a lot of reasons, right? Families travel, kids are tired at the end of a school semester. Well, what this summer practice plan will do is help you help your students organize an event. So they plan and this performance event, whether it's an event that's going to take place at their house or somebody else's house, they get to choose the date, the time, when, where that's going to happen, as well as plan their practice around the pieces that they want to learn. So talk about an incentive for practicing during the summer months. That, my friends, definitely is. Now, you're also going to get the African-American spiritual Joshua Fought the Battle of Jericho in all 12 minor keys. And that's a fun one for those students just starting to delve into improvisation and learning what it means to harmonize melodies. And finally, you're going to get a performance prep checklist, which is really just a simple way for students to keep track of the practice that they're doing, but even more so learning how to stay focused when they're practicing. So this little performance checklist will go a long way in your studio, and your students will love, you'll love them having access to that. So that's the free gift. I'll tell you how to get that in towards the end of this presentation today. Now, just quickly, a brief outline of what we're going to talk about today. You know that you're here to learn the 3 simple and proven strategies to inspire more practice. These are strategies that I'm implementing on a regular basis. Got some case studies for you about how a lot of these are working from me and my students, what I'm doing with them. So we're going to talk about that first and foremost. Then I'm going to tell you a bit about the new and improved Membership Community 2.0. Like I said, that is by far the best place for me to have a chance to serve piano teachers such as yourself and provide amazing resources to you all to help you in the important work that you're doing. Thirdly, there's going to be a time for Q&A. If you have any questions about the content that I'm covering today, or if you have any questions about the membership community, there's going to be a time allotted. It's where you can ask those questions and I will answer your questions. And then finally, I'm going to tell you how to get that special free gift that I just outlined. So I'm excited that you're here today, and we're going to dive into those 3 proven strategies right now. I do want to mention, though, that many of you probably saw the online training worksheet that I put together and sent out in the last couple of emails. If you didn't see that, I have shared that file with you. So if you click on that file, it should be in your comments section. Go ahead and click that. That'll get you access to the outline where you can jot down some tips, some ideas that you are inspired by today. Keep track of those things. So that is there for you. And I'm also going to go ahead and throw up the page where you can learn more about the membership community. Even though I'm going to be talking about that later on, I just want to go ahead and put that up for you so you have that as well. But we're going to dive into the comment, and I see that we have Janine here from Ohio and Angela from Arizona. So glad that you're here. Yes, feel free to introduce yourself. We've got a few folks on the line today. Glad that you're here. And, I'll do my best to answer questions along the way and to, get over to the chat box and see what's going on there. But for the most part, I'll stick with the content here in these slides, and then we'll use that allotted time at the end of the presentation to answer those questions formally. So I'm glad you're here. Without further ado, let's dive in to the presentation. I don't know about you, but more times than I care to admit, the students in my studio come in looking like this. Now, they may not put their heads on the piano like this and touch the keys like these little boys. We'd have to have a conversation for sure, because that's a bit disrespectful. But I can tell you this, the students more than on one occasion have come into my lesson room, maybe not looking quite like this, but I know they feel like this on the inside. They're bored. They're there because mom and dad's making them take piano lessons. And it's a shame, really, because you and I know all that it takes is a bit of focused, and that's the key word, focused practice per week to really achieve amazing results on the instrument. Now, I don't know about you, but nod your head. Actually, put a yes in the comments section if you've ever had a parent that looks like this, sort of checked out, on their smartphone, don't really care what's going on with their child's music education. I mean, they've hired you as the music teacher, right? So their job is done. Now they just bring them to lessons. Well, you and I both know that that's not the case. But you know what? At the end of the day, it leaves us feeling like this lady looks. Now, I don't know if you've ever screamed out loud before. I haven't. Well, maybe once. Maybe I screamed into a pillow. But I can tell you this. I have felt like this lady looks on the inside. I have felt that frustration on more than one occasion. And it's a shame, really, because as I said, you and I both know that all it takes is a bit of focused practice for our students to achieve fantastic results. So we're going to dive into those 3 simple and proven strategies right now. By far the number one gift that you can give yourself as a piano teacher, and the number one gift you can give to the families that you're working with, is to help get those parents involved in their child's music education in an active way, not a passive way, but an active way. And we're going to go through a few simple ways that you can educate parents on how they can become more engaged in their child's music education right now. Now, the first way I always like to stress to parents that how they can begin to invite music to be a part of their lives and at home is to experience music together. So in every community, in most communities, I should say, there are free community concerts. There are all sorts of events happening. I mean, I'm 20 miles outside of Atlanta, and I could name 5 things that are happening tonight in Atlanta. But, even more than that, like tonight, my daughter has a performance at her local primary school. So we're going to do that later on tonight. But you can encourage parents to begin to make music a part of their lives at home, and you can encourage them to experience music together through these concerts and things that's going on in the local community. So like I said, in any community, there's bound to be just droves of things happening, and encouraging our parents to get out to those, bring their kids to those things. That can be a very, very powerful and positive experience. Now, another way to encourage parents to make music a part of their daily life at home is to listen to music at home or in the car. Now, that may sound pretty simple. And you know what? It is. It really is. But I know most people get in the car, myself included, turn on the radio with our kids in the back, and we passively listen to music. Well, we want to encourage our parents, the parents of the students we're working with, to get involved in an active way, right? Instead of just turning on the radio in the car and passively listening to the music, why not ask the child a few questions about their favorite song that's playing on the radio? Billy, why do you like this song? Is it because it's fast? Billy answers, yes, I love that fast song. What's your favorite part in that song? So getting them involved in this way is a great way to begin to make music, and more specifically, their piano practice, a topic at home. Parents can take a more active role in these ways, of course, but in some other ways as well. These are my 2 girls. This is my oldest daughter on the left. Her name is Abby, and little Emma is on the right. She's just about to turn 5. And I think this was at her birthday party or something. She's got the little unicorn headband on, which is kind of cute, right? Well, both of my girls, Abby and Emma, have started to show an interest in learning how to play the piano, especially little Emma. Now, Emma will ask me, and I love this, she asks me 3 or 4 times per week to have a piano lesson. To her, it's a piano lesson. But we're going to have a piano lesson. Now, what do our lessons entail? Pretty much improvisation. Now, she's learned some quarter notes and half notes and these sorts of things. But for a majority of the lesson, we're improvising. Hey, Emma, here's 3 black notes. I'm going to set up a fun pattern in the left hand lower part. And you just experiment. Have fun with these 3 black notes. So that's the way I'm approaching piano lessons with my almost 5-year-old right now. But I'm realizing that I have to start taking a more active role in Emma and Abby's education at home, their music education. I'd be curious to know how many of you have taught your kids or family members to learn how to play the instrument. I just came back over here to the chat box. I see Janine, you're saying most of your students are engaged, or most of the parents are engaged. That is awesome. What a gift. And Angela, thank you. I appreciate that. They are sweet girls, and we love them to death for sure. But how many of you have taught your own children to play, or your grandchildren, Janine? I love that. But something I'm realizing as a parent is that's a different dynamic. And so one thing, instead of just me being a part of their musical life, I'm trying to bring in mentors and influences in other places. For example, our local church, the church we attend, has a great music program. So Miss Christine is becoming a mentor in my girls' lives. So she's a musical mentor, and they're spending some time with her on a weekly basis, getting a chance to get another perspective. And another thing I'm realizing is it's not always easy to teach your own kids. So that's why what I'm teaching today, this idea of being more actively engaged, taking more of an active role in my own daughter's music education, is so important. Angela, you say that you've taught your 3 kids and you're teaching your grandkids now. I love that. I love that. And I'm sure there's all sorts of stories among you fine folks here on the online chat today. So what are some ways that parents can take a more active role in their child's music education? Well, they can ask specific questions. Far too often, parents ask vague questions to their kids, such as, did you practice today? And if you did, how long did you practice? Now, those, I guess, are important practice questions for the students, but at the same time, they're not going to really inspire kids to get motivated and encouraged to walk over to the piano and practice. My parents, all good intentions here, would ask me the same thing. Did you get over to the piano today and practice? And I'd say yes, but I guarantee you my practice was not very focused. If I practiced at all, I mean, typically I sat there and just played the songs I already knew, and I had to learn what it meant to be focused in my own practice. So parents can get a little bit more specific with the questions that they're asking their children about their practice routines, such as maybe, what's your favorite piece that you're playing? Could you play that one for me? I mean, look right there. Already the student is going to love walking over to the piano and playing their favorite piece for their parent. And not only that, they're getting the experience of playing in front of someone else other than their teacher. How cool is that? You know, parents can also help set up a good practice schedule if a child is struggling with discipline when it comes to practice. I'll be talking a little bit more about different sorts of practice schedules a little later today. Now, another thing parents can do is they can encourage self-appraisal and, above all, be supportive. Being a parent, I know, especially like when my oldest daughter, my 7-year-old, is upset about something, and then we can start a conversation about it. And, we want to encourage parents to be sensitive to what their kids are experiencing in the lesson room or in the practice room, and maybe not, walking into the practice room and saying, hey, what are you struggling on? Let me help you, because, that's the teacher's job at the end of the day. Plus, you don't want to bring any negativity into the practice room with your own children. The parents don't, but, maybe just being sensitive to that and mentioning to you, their piano teacher, that I'm noticing that they're really struggling with the rhythm here or in this particular piece. And they might not be able to name it exactly because maybe they never took music lessons themselves, but they know if something's not right or if their kid is upset. Self-criticizing isn't easy for any of us. So I think another thing that's really important to emphasize to parents is that they can be supportive and also ask their kids, to play passages that they're really excited about. What's your favorite passage in this particular piece, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a great way to begin to take a more active role in their child's music education. Setting goals. Now, you and I, we have goals for our piano students, of course. But, often families don't really think about the possibility, the fact that they can set goals independently of yours as their piano teacher. I will say that activities and timelines in the home don't necessarily have to line up with what they're working on in lessons. Now, what are some things I'm referring to? Well, how about family concerts? Have you ever encouraged, and feel free to leave a comment in the comment section, a family to organize a concert at home? something that's independent of something you're working on with your students. This is something that the kids can get excited about, invite their friends and family members to. Maybe they're going to play 4 or 5 of their favorite pieces and then eat pizza or something. But that's outside of the regular lesson routine. And that's something that parents can get involved with and their kids can get excited about in terms of having to practice their pieces for this event that they're throwing in just a few weeks. Now, another thing that you can encourage parents to do, and maybe you even have access to these sorts of things, is recording software. You could maybe help the parents and the students organize some kind of recording project. I had a student who's since gone off to college. Her name is Maggie. And I tell you, one thing Maggie loved to do every single year was to create a recording project of her favorite pieces that she had worked on all year long. And so she'd have 8 to 10 pieces performance ready by the time December hit. And she knew I had access to some recording equipment. And even if you yourself don't have access, I'm sure you know someone who does, or you can find inexpensive places to do this at, but is to take those pieces into the studio and record them. So we would record a project every year for her family, and she would send that out to her family and friends as Christmas presents. I just thought that was a brilliant idea. And I tell you what, it so encouraged Maggie to get to share her music with her friends and her family, but it also encouraged her to practice because she knew that she was going to have to play those pieces for that recording. At the end of the day, music is more than just preparing for lessons. It enriches the lives of our loved ones. It enriches the lives of our friends, and we want to instill that into the students that we're working with. So what's another way that parents can get a little more involved? Well, they can get more personal. What do I mean by this? Well, they can have honest conversations with their children, especially as they're getting older. They could ask questions such as, what are your musical aspirations? What place will music hold in your life? I think that question is so important for our older students. I had a senior student, senior in high school, and she's just about to go off to college. And I asked her just a few weeks ago, what are some of your aspirations? Are there any particular pieces that you're excited about playing or maybe learning? What place will music hold in your life? Like, what are your goals? And she shared with me some of her goals. She would just like to go to the retirement facility, be able to play for the residents there, to be able to share in that way. And plus, like, if her friends ever ask her, what she does for fun, she says, I play the piano. And she wants to be able to really play. I thought that was a great goal. And so she's not going to go off to pursue it professionally, but that's okay. As long as she knows what place music will hold in her life, that's what's important, and she sticks with it. So parents can also talk to their kids about performance anxiety. This is especially important around recital season. If there's a special event coming up, they can also talk about what styles their student or their child is most interested in. I'm going to head over to the chat box real quick just to see if we've got any comments here. Angela, you say, yes, encourage students to play for friends and family whenever they can. I ask my students to record pieces every week. I think that's great. Also video their practice sessions once a week. That's important. Also for you as their teacher, I think that's brilliant because now you're going to be able to see what they're struggling with or what they're doing really well and reinforce those things in the lesson. Janine, you're right. The iPad does have a great recorder. I mean, think about the technology we have available to us today. The fact that a student can open up an app and begin to make a recording project is pretty neat. And Janine, you also say that your students play in the church and the nursing home. I love that. So looking for those outside events, those special things that they can prepare for and share in those places, share with others. So we've talked about the number one gift that you can give yourself as a piano teacher, and the number one gift you can give to your families is to get those parents on board in an active way. Now let's move on to practice strategy number 2, the simple and proven strategy, my friends, to inspire more practice out of your students. And this one is on us. You and me as piano teachers. We have to spark imagination and creativity in our students. So how do we go about doing this? How do we spark imagination and creativity in the students? Well, I tell you what, we can mix things up. Don't you love this picture? Picture of all kinds of nuts, Brazil nuts, peanuts, almonds, all kinds of things, cashews, which are really my favorite. And I chose this picture just because it so eloquently and perfectly describes the message that I'm trying to convey. We have to mix things up from time to time. We have to change it up. Deviating from the pattern from time to time makes piano lessons fresh and exciting. We recently produced an article on practicehabits.co on this very topic. It was the secret for student engagement. And my friends, it comes down to mixing it up. So what are some ways that we can mix things up? Well, we can play games with our students. There are so many resources available to us online. I can think of 4 or 5 right off the top of my head. One person who comes to mind who talks a lot about games and is actually a membership community member, and she's doing some stuff with us over at practicehabits.co, is Jennifer Fox. She's got bukus of information about playing games with your students, and she's got a few games of her own over at musiceducatorresources.com. But playing games with our students is important, especially with those little ones. What's the language of little kids? The language is play, right? Now, we can also focus on techniques in fun and engaging ways. I recently had my little girl Emma on a Facebook Live broadcast, and we were talking about hand formation. I'm going to zoom to the camera real quick so you can see what I'm trying to talk about here. See how to do this. Actually, I may keep it like this, my friends. I'll do it here. If you look in the corner, bottom corner there at my hand, I've got my hand curved. Well, we were playing a little game to teach hand formation, curving that hand. I don't know where I read it. It was in a Facebook group somewhere that one teacher, in order to get her students to play with a nice curved hand position, would tell her students not to squish the hamster. So imagine you got a little hamster in here, a little mouse or something, cute little mice, and you don't want to squish them, because if you flatten that hand, then you're squishing the mouse, and the mouse can't breathe. That's so sad. So encouraging the student to not squish the hamster is a great reminder, it's an analogy to help them remember to play with that curved hand position. So you can focus on particular techniques in a fun way. And I've got a few more on the Practice Habits Facebook page. If you sift through some of the live content there, you'll find some other tips and tricks for doing those sorts of things. Now, we can also incorporate technology. The first thing that comes to mind is a notation software called MuseScore. Now, I use Finale personally, but MuseScore is free, open source, public domain software, free and available to you right now. You could download it and use it in your studio. And MuseScore is a notation software. One way to use that with your students is to maybe pick out a simple melody such as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, notate the melody in the notation software, and then begin to write chords out underneath it and teach students how to begin harmonizing melodies and making them sound good with harmony. So incorporating technology is a great way to spark imagination and creativity. Now, another thing we can do as piano teachers to engage our students is be interactive. Now, what if, I'm curious to know, I'm going to ask a question here. How many of you have ever played, or you make playing in your students' lesson kind of a regular routine? You might not do it every time, but say you're working on a piece of music and you want to show it and share it with your students. How many of you, just leave me a comment, yes or no, if you've played in your students' lessons before. I think this one is so important because playing in lessons makes it to where students can see that we're actively working on music outside of their lessons. So, even now they know that my teacher, my mentor, is practicing. And that's encouraging. I think that's so encouraging for students to get to see their teachers play. You can also play duets with your students. That's another way to get involved and be interactive in their lessons. What about showing them videos? I'd be curious to know how many of you show videos to your students during the lesson. Maybe this is not every single lesson, but on occasion, you could show a piece that they're working on, find a nice recording on YouTube, maybe a couple different recordings that have a couple different interpretations, but they're both quality. And you could share that with the student once they've learned a piece and you're beginning to work on dynamics and such. You could ask them to find pieces that they enjoy on their iPad at home and maybe bring it to the lesson one week and show you what they're excited about learning. And finally, another way to really be interactive in their piano lessons is to improvise. Show them what basic improvisation looks like, and then begin to improvise together. Like I said, with Emma, one thing I'm doing is having her improvise on the 3 black notes. It's easy for her little fingers to get there. Visually, she knows where she is. I'll set up just a simple little pattern in the bass clef, and she'll begin to improvise. And that's a fun way to experience music together. Now, we can also get to know our students' interests. Allow them to play a song that they're interested in learning. They may not always tell you what they're interested in learning, so sometimes you have to ask. I'll tell you a story about Camden. This is Camden. Camden is just a cool kid. He's just a kid I would classify as creative. He's fun. He has his hands in a lot of different things, and he really loves music. Well, Camden, from the onset, I knew he was kind of a gifted kid. He could hear something and pick it out. He had a good ear, and he was excited to learn how to play piano. But several weeks into our lesson together, I noticed he's not practicing. Why isn't he practicing at home? So had several different conversations with his mom to kind of help them set up a practice schedule that was going to work for him, but to no avail. But one day I walk into the lesson room and he's just sitting there. He got there before I did, and he was playing a little bit of the song from the Lego movie. And the song title is Everything is Awesome. It's just this fun song that he began to pick out. And I was like, let's try something. So I said, Camden, taught with his mom as well after the lesson, let's download the sheet music, and then I want you to begin working on it. So we found it on his level. He downloaded it, and friends, the next lesson he came in and could play that piece so well. And over the next few weeks, he really practiced, and he even began practicing the other music that I had assigned him. So we kind of treated that fun song, the Lego song, as dessert. So if you eat your vegetables, if you play the stuff I'm assigning to you, then you get dessert. Then you get to play Everything is Awesome. And we also established a practice schedule that worked for him. I'm not traditional in the sense that, I tell students to sit down for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and just practice. I think at some point students have to aspire to that, to be able to sit down for longer lengths of time and focus. But when they're younger, that's often very difficult. And we want to be encouraging parents to also look for practice schedules that are not necessarily traditional in the sense that you're supposed to sit down and play, but find something that works for their schedules. So with Camden, we found that shorter bursts at the piano each day really helped him stay focused, so he could focus 5 or 10 minutes at a time. So he'd do that 2 or 3 times a day. And I tell you, we noticed a huge difference in his preparation level in the lessons together. So sometimes setting up different practice schedules can help the kids that you're working with. So another thing that we can do is ask lots of specific questions. We want to really make our students think. Don't just tell them answers, but teach new concepts by making them think about things. For example, if a child's working on a passage of music, in the middle of a piece, there's a crescendo and they're supposed to get louder and more intense, but you notice the child's not doing that. Well, instead of just saying, hey, Johnny, there's a crescendo there in the middle, get louder. If you've just learned about that specific technique, well, you can talk about it. Ask them questions. Say, hey, Johnny, do you remember dynamics? We've talked about how you can get loud and soft, piano, forte, etc. And there's 2 symbols we recently learned. One is to get softer, one is to get louder. Look in the middle of that page. What do you think that symbol's telling you to do? Get louder. Well, now Johnny's going to remember every time he gets to that section that he's supposed to get louder. So you can also ask them to come up with solutions for technical difficulties that they're having, such as fingerings and transitions. I have had students, especially older students, and by older I mean intermediate to advanced students, come up with their own fingerings for passages in music that they're working on, transition passages or difficult passages. I think it's really important for students to think through the way they're fingering a passage and then come up with their own solution to those problems, because really making them think is important, and they're going to learn a lot more from that than from us just ascribing certain things to them and telling them to do it a certain way. Now, I kind of already mentioned this one, but I do want to go a bit more in depth in terms of letting students into our practice. I think it's important to play on occasion for our students. As I said, I think it's important to let them into the pieces we're working on, but I also feel that we take that a step further and we be vulnerable. And here's what I mean by that. Of course, we're the tutor, we're the master, we're teaching the student, and they respect us for that. But at the same time, we are going to struggle with certain passages in pieces that we're working on. And I think it's a great learning experience for students to be brought into that process along with us. So an example of this that I recently employed with an older student of mine, Carly, she was working on the Chopin Nocturne in E flat and recently played that for the recital. She did a great job. If you're familiar with that piece, you know it's very difficult. Now, I've played the piece before, but it was not readily under my fingers. So to sit down and try to play that piece, I'd be practicing essentially, right? So I sat down. She was struggling with this one passage in particular. I sat down, asked her to trade spots with me. I was at the bench and I said, Carly, for the next 4 or 5 minutes, I am going to practice this passage. And I'm going to be totally upfront with you. I'm going to have to practice this because I don't know it. I don't know this passage without practicing it. So I said, I'm going to guide you through what my process to practice this particular passage would be. And then I began to do that, and I'd explain things that I was doing along the way. And she was able to ask me questions along the way. Why did you do that? Okay, now that makes sense, etc. And I think that was really helpful for her. So letting students into our practice can be a great way to engage them and to help them to spark that imagination and that creativity. So we've talked about 2 of the 3 strategies. Now we're going to move on to number 3. Before I do want to check the comment section here. Showing videos is a great idea. Tune Train, I'm not familiar with that one, Janine, so I'm going to have to check that out. I will definitely do that. So some cool ideas coming here in the comment section. Let's move on to number 3. Now, if you're following the outline or writing on the outline, you'll notice that number 3 is actually inspiring and well-crafted sheet music. Well, I changed things around a bit. I've actually retitled number 3 as incentives, and well-crafted sheet music is what quickly follows, my friends. So we want to provide incentives for our students to practice, make those incentives. Some students are going to be extrinsically motivated. They need the reward system, things like this to help them feel inspired to practice. Other ones are intrinsically motivated to practice, and that's always a gift, but it's rare. I've had it happen on occasion, but it's by far more rare than those students that are motivated from rewards. But one way that I have found, one incentive that I found with students that I've worked with over the years is providing them with well-crafted sheet music, even rewarding them with well-crafted sheet music. So I remember as a kid receiving a piece of music, you know, the little single piece, maybe it's 2 or 3 pages long. And I remember feeling the pages, looking at the beautiful cover that was on the front, the picture that was on that cover. It was vibrant. The music smelled new. I don't even know what that smell is. And it's probably not good to smell, but it smelled new and it smelled good to me. It inspired me. So well-crafted sheet music, right? The cover is nice. It's got to be pretty to inspire the kids, but the music, you know, at the core, it's got to be good. I'll tell you about one of my students, Andrea. This past week, we were sifting through some of the pieces in the Practice Habits membership community, you have access to all this sheet music. I was pulling up 3 of the pieces. Now, Andrea loves fast pieces, but I also want to give her some lyrical pieces, some slower, softer pieces that she can learn and incorporate different techniques. Well, I played 3 pieces for her. I played one that was a little slower, one that was medium tempo, and then one called The Music Train that's jazzy and fast. And I asked her at the end, Andrea, which one of these pieces would you like to learn next? And she says, Mr. Chris, you know the answer to that. And I said, okay, The Music Train. It's fast. It's fun. It's what Andrea likes. So she was inspired by the sound of that music. And so we picked that piece as well as one of the others because I am a good piano teacher and I want to give her some other things to work on as well. Now, another way that we can inspire our students and give them incentives is to gift new music and reward our students. My piano teacher, my childhood piano teacher, Miss Jackie Hudson, used to have this award called Student of the Month, and we all aspired to receive this award. So we'd practice our little hearts out because we knew that if we got Student of the Month for January or February or March, we would be rewarded the amazing honor of the piece of sheet music that we were inspired by. So she'd hand out these pieces of music to us at the recital, honoring us for our hard work, and we all aspired to get these pieces of music. It was inspiring to know that we could be the recipient of one of those great pieces. So instead of rewarding, a goodie bag one year, and believe me, I give goodie bags away too, but the parents will appreciate you because you're not giving them the kids candy at the end of the recital, but you're giving them something that's going to inspire them and a piece that they can learn and prepare for their piano lessons. So it's a win-win situation. Now, another way we can inspire our students through incentives is with festivals and competitions. Now, not all students naturally gravitate to these things. I for sure didn't when I was a student. But I did began to realize the importance of festivals, competitions, auditions, whatever you call them, and the value that they played in my music education the older I got. And I was very grateful for my piano teacher. But talk about incentive. Chris, you've got to play in front of a judge in 3 months. I hope you're going to learn that piece really well and memorize it. For many of these events, the music has to be memorized, right? So festivals and competitions are a great way to incentivize their practice at home. And it's just, at the end of the day, a good thing. And finally here, group lessons or concerts. Now, I don't know how many of you have done this before. Let me know in the comment section if you do group lessons from time to time, meaning you bring in a smaller group of your larger group of students, maybe all around the same level or age range, and allow them to play for one another in the lesson. I think that is super powerful to get to hear their peers play pieces, and some of them are going to play them really well because they practice. Some will play okay, but maybe they should have practiced more, and that's going to inspire those students to want to rise to that level for the next group lesson or concert. And in the same way, students are going to be exposed to different pieces. Maybe they get inspired to play a particular piece that they hear at one of these group lessons. So that is for sure a way to incentivize practice among your students. So friends, we've talked about the 3 simple and proven strategies. Now I'm going to tell you about the membership community. The membership community, as I said, is a great place where I have an opportunity to serve piano teachers such as yourself in the important work that you're doing. Inspiring student practice and parent engagement is central to our work as piano teachers. And the membership community is a place filled with like-minded piano teachers with that same goal in mind. And it is a great place that I have an honor and privilege to serve these piano teachers. If you're a piano teacher who loves having access to well-crafted sheet music and resources, practice guides to educate parents on the importance of practice and give them tips and strategies to put effective practice schedules into place at home, and you love having kind of a place to talk with other like-minded piano teachers, then the membership community is the place for you, my friends. This is Miss Natalie Weber, who's a member of the community, and she has this to say about one of the most popular pieces within the community, That Fall Feeling, she played for some of her students, and they remarked that it was pretty, which I think that's cool. That's really great that they think the song's pretty. But here's what I really love. I love that Natalie is asking her students questions in the lesson room, right? How powerful is that? Natalie is playing for her students and then asking her students what their impressions are about the music that she's playing. Simone Tran, who is also a piano teacher in the community, says that the music train, which is the piece I mentioned earlier, is a fun piece to play for students that are looking for jazzy sound with an upbeat, doing a pair of eighth notes and challenging with ties and rests and all that stuff. What I love about Simone is that she has found a great way to inspire her students to practice. Now, write this one down. One thing Simone does is she hosts Halloween-themed recitals. So you can imagine kids dressing up in their Halloween suits and coming into her studio and playing for their parents and their friends dressed as Harry Potter, dressed as the Abominable Snowman, right? How fun is that? And you talk about inspiring students to practice. I would have loved to have done that when I was a kid. I think that is so, so neat. Now, within the membership community, there's all sorts of materials. The main perk by far being unlimited access to well-crafted sheet music and other resources such as technical exercises, lead sheets, practice guides, as I mentioned, as well as the access to the private Facebook group where you can talk to your colleagues. Now, there are some new additions to the membership community. We recently went through an overhaul after we ran a couple of surveys to our audience and found that folks were also interested in online trainings. So we've started an online training database featuring videos such as the one that you're a part of today, recordings from past online trainings, Facebook Live broadcasts, and future events with our guests that are coming in. I currently have Mr. Aaron Jones of Mr. Aaron Music, and he specializes in teaching preschool group lessons. And he's just a great musician, but he's also has a great way of teaching little bitties. And also Miss Tracy Sell, who is a very active teacher and inspirational kind of coach in our piano teaching space. She's going to be a part of our June monthly Q&A call coming up. And in addition to the online training database and the monthly live Q&A calls, if you join at the annual level, you get 30% off of all of our annual online workshops featuring practice habits personalities. As I've mentioned already, Miss Jennifer Fox and some others include Tracy Sell and some of my friends that contribute to the blog, Miss April O'Keefe, that you've probably heard me mention before in the blog, just a great musical thinker and very active in our Atlanta community. These are a couple of quick snapshots for you of music and sources within the community and on the website. Every piece kind of has a description and a demonstration video that you can teach your kids that way or allow them to hear a piece of music. Here is an actual excerpt from a technical exercise. This one's on chord inversions, and it's in several keys. There's a practice guide for you staying in shape in the summer. This is a guide to educate parents on the importance of practice, but then also how their students can stay in shape during the summer months. Miss Kathy Rabago says that the membership community has been a lifesaver this semester. Now, friends, I want you to imagine this. You show up, your student's about to show up 5 minutes till, and you forgot to print that piece of music for them or pull up that technical exercise on that one technique you wanted to teach them. You quickly head over to the Practice Habits membership community, the website, log in, download all the resources that you're wanting to share with your student, and you can download those, pull it up on your iPad, or simply print it out and have that ready for the lesson. Talk about a lifesaver, talk about a convenience factor. That for sure is one. And finally, Jennifer Fox of Music Educators Resources says that she's enjoying all the resources in the community. It is an honor to serve her and her students as well. There's currently 80 plus resources. That's a $540 value. And I'm on track to produce another 30 plus resources this year, bringing that value to $720. Now, this is the old price of the membership community, and this is the new price of the membership community, I am happy to offer this to you at the monthly fee of $19 or the annual fee of $190. And another thing that I'm excited to offer you today, my friends, for you special folks on this online training session with me, is 10% off the lifetime of your membership. So you get that lower price with an additional 10% off. You just input the discount code sheet music at checkout, and that is the link, practicehabits.co/membership, to the page where you can find out even more about the membership community. Here's some of the pieces of music that we have to offer. And then sign up, because I'd love a chance to serve you and your students. And remember, I also put the button up there at the beginning of our session today, and you can click on that as well. I always like to remind folks that this is a tax-deductible expense. You, as a piano teacher, are running a business, and you're going to have operating expenses. So part of what you're able to write off on your taxes is memberships or workshop fees, these sorts of things. So this is a great tax deduction for you. And, with the $190 annual membership fee at the 10% discount, that's $171 per year. Say you've got 20 students. Well, now you're looking at $8.55 per year for each of those students. That is an affordable price for so much value. Not to mention, I offer a 100% 30-day money-back guarantee. So it gives you time to get in there, check out the resources. If you say, this isn't for me, we'll take comfort in the fact that I will give you a refund. And no questions asked, my friends. I just would appreciate you checking it out. But there's a 100% 30-day money-back guarantee. And this weekend only, a bonus offer. So I've got an online workshop, a summer workshop coming up in July 27th through the 28th. We're calling it Piano Brain. This is your brain on piano, right? And we've got some of the Practice Habits personalities going to be a part of this. It's going to be an inspiring weekend online workshop to get you fueled up for that new semester, that new season coming up. If you're taking the summer off, or if your load's a little lighter in the summer, you're gearing up for that fall season or whatever season you're in, getting ready for that new teaching season, then this will light a fire and help you get inspired and motivated to teach those wonderful piano students. And that's a $39 value available to you for free, my friends. Now, about that very special free gift, I have put together not just 4, as it says on this slide, it's actually 5 well-crafted resources for you. If you go to practicehabits.co/gift, that's going to get you access to those 5 free resources: the sheet music I talked about, the practice guide, as well as the technical exercises and a couple of other things. I am so happy to offer that to you. Just go to practicehabits.co/gift to access those resources. And friends, as always, there's a place for you in the membership community. I'm going to head back over here to the comment section to see what sorts of questions we have. Let's see. I want to take a minute to answer any questions you have about the content, as well as any questions you may have about the membership community. Angela, thank you. I'm so glad to serve you and your students there. You are kind, and like I said, just my honor. Yvonne, you say, I do group lessons for makeups. The lessons just before recitals is peer review. I think that's good. I love that. The kids love this class, and it's amazing how fast they fix the errors identified by fellow students. That's good. And I'd imagine too, I'd be curious, like, is that a little tricky? How do you, because I think that's a great idea. How do you preface that to your students? Because first and foremost, I've always noticed piano students are kind. Like, I've never really had, I guess I'm just blessed in this way, but I think it's probably very common. I just don't have mean-spirited kids. So I'd imagine, like, if they're doing peer reviews, that sounds like you've got a great environment set up to foster that, and to foster some positive critique, even though some of the feedback may be critical, like you say, and fixing errors, but at the same time, it sounds like you've got a great system put in place. Kudos to you. I think that's great. Let's see. Sifting through some of the comments here, I want to make sure I get to some. If I miss some, let's see. Feel free to ask me a question up there in the comments section. I think above all, the fact that you're even here on this online training is so cool, because it means that you're genuinely invested in your work, in the important work that you're doing, and in your students. And at the end of the day, my friends, that's what matters. That's what's important. The fact that we're pouring into our students, that we're engaging with them in a genuine way. And the fact that you're here just speaks to the fact that you're a great teacher, and keep up that important work. Yvonne, I'm reading here, you say students have to say one positive thing in one area that needs improvement. Beautiful. So you've got the system outlined right there. They write them down and hand them to the performer after we discuss them. The performer gets to choose if they want the good news or bad news first. I love that, Yvonne. I think you've come up with a fantastic way to foster that, as well as create just a cool environment. Angela, I see you've got a question about the online workshop. Angela, here's something I haven't told you all that are already in the membership community. I'm all about giving value first and foremost to those who are looking to inspire their students, and are going that extra step by making certain resources and things available to them. So Angela, because you are a Practice Habits membership community subscriber, you're automatically grandfathered into that, along with everyone who registers this weekend. And that's something I'm excited to extend to the other members as well. But that will go on sale at the $39 price tag after this weekend. So you want to get in now if you want to be included in that piano workshop. And I'll give you future details, Angela, on how you can get signed up for that more formally. But just know, you're part of the membership community, so you're part of that online workshop, and that's going to be a fun one to help us get inspired for that new season. I love that. I'm glad you're excited. Cheryl, you are so welcome. Listen, it is an amazing opportunity and privilege to serve you all. And this has been fun today. Thank you for joining me. We are at the hour mark, and I want to honor your time because you have important work to get back to. Now, you'll hear me say this time and time again, but friends, the work you're doing is important. Thank you for doing it, because it really does matter. And the reason I say that is because pouring into others really is important. I sincerely mean that. And I wish you the best this day and your teaching, and keep doing what you're doing, because it's awesome to watch, my friends. Have a fantastic day. Take care. I'll see you next time.